Welcome everybody to a whole nother season and whole nother episode of Breaking Resistance podcast with yours truly, Julio Iglesias. No, I'm just kidding. It's John John Azar.
I'm excited. I don't know about you, John, but I know it's been some time since our first season, but second season is kicking off. Summer is already here, so I'm excited for our viewers and listeners. So definitely the last season we had a good hit, but this time I know just to kind of get the lay of the land for all of our listeners, we're definitely going to bring you more real estate guests on here, so it should be fun. But we definitely want to hear the full story, the background, the grit, the tenacity from a lot of our guests. And so on our first episode, we have an amazing guest. John, I don't want to steal no one's thunder, but we'll go ahead and give him a shot for him to go ahead and introduce himself. But John, I don't know if you want to kind of just give a high level.
I gotta create a little bit of thunder before Dave has a chance to speak. I mean, Dave is. We're lucky to have Dave Seymour, our guest today. He is a known entity without any hesitation at all. He's been around the block a few times in the real estate industry. If you boys and girls remember Flipping Boston, he was the star of that show for a couple of years, and then he went into multifamily. He's done all kinds of things, and we are lucky to have him and his story. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
Hey, brother, I appreciate it. I don't know whether I'm going to present myself as like Pitbull, you know what I mean, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Seeing as you're Julio Iglesias, I could be Mr. Pitbull. Francisco Herrera. I mean, come on, man. We got a Spanish Latin flavor going on right here, right now. If you can pull it off, I can pull it off. You know. I promise you one thing. We'll get into the nitty gritty and the resistance of it all. But if we ain't having any fun, I'm just going to turn the microphones off.
Well, we always. I mean, look, most of our episodes, Dave, happen to be like multicultural. Anyway, it's already multicultural right now. I mean, you got a Mexican, an Arab, and a Brit right here. So I mean,
Is it? Wait a minute. But that's got to be that. Francisco, that's got to be the opening line to a joke. So did you hear the one about the Arab, the Mexican, and the Brit walked into a bar? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm laughing my ass off already and we haven't even started. So good, man.
Exactly. Good. Oh my goodness.
I love it. So thanks for having me, brother.
No, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming. Yeah. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you. I always want to give a little bit of background. I want you to give a little bit of background to our audience. You know, obviously real estate was not always like you didn't wake up at 10 years old and think, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to be doing real estate." You know, what was the background? What was the childhood like? You know, how did you grow up? How did you even come into real estate?
Yeah, look, man, my childhood was very similar to yours. I mean, we found that commonality when we got to break bread.
Absolutely.
Look, I always say I'm a blue collar guy in a white collar world today. You know what I mean? I came from England, like you said. I'm a Brit. I'm an immigrant to the United States of America. Don't tell anyone; it's a secret. Right? But I'm an immigrant to the States. I came over back in the mid '80s, following my first wife, who was an American, to this country. But the upbringing. You're right, John. It wasn't. When I want to grow up, I want to be a private equity real estate investor. Like that wasn't on the radar. School for me was a challenge, man. I mean, if I wasn't stimulated, if I wasn't engaged, if I didn't enjoy what I was doing, I kind of didn't do it. And I think for me, that's like the undercurrent of the entrepreneur. That's what makes us unemployable. You know what I mean? It's like following somebody else's plan of action or somebody else's rules. It was always a challenge. But, my dad was a heating and air conditioning guy. My mom a secretary in a bank. I grew up on probably the English equivalent of the housing projects. Not that it was tough. For us growing up as kids, give me a football, give me a bit of grass, I'm off and running, my old mate. You know what I mean? I'm Chelsea Football Club, and I'm going to score a header and win the FA Cup. So that, the upbringing was controlled. And what I mean by that is that there was never in my background, a ladder of elevation. We'll use that as a term,
Yeah.
right? I knew there was a ceiling growing up that I could never break through because of cultural restraints, because of financial restraints. So, look, I was a happy kid, but, I was also... Can you be happy and discontented? I think you can. I was generally a happy kid, but as I got into those teenage years, the idea of following in my father's footsteps of always trading my time for somebody else's money kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So, where do you go if you want to become the very best version of yourself? You come to America. I mean, it's the truth, right? We all did.
That's the land
here,
when that's the land when everybody goes out and drowns their time for somebody else's money.
Right. Well, but you know what? That's true. But in the same breath, would you not also agree with me that each of us has been given opportunities in this country that maybe would have been harder in the countries that we originate
100%.
from, whether we're first generation, second or third generation. So
no, I agree with you on
that's my grace, if you will. That's my gratitude.
100%.
In carrying an American passport today, So yeah.
I agree.
Simple upbringing, brother.
I agree.
No airs and grace. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to Harvard.
You have to have the accent in order for you to be able to say Harvard.
I only used to have coffee near Harvard, but I didn't actually go to Harvard either. So
Harvard, right? Harvard, hanging out with all those smart people.
Wicked smart, not just smart, wicked smart.
No, it's not even just wicked smart; it's wicked way smart. Oh man! So yeah, that was the upbringing. Yeah. I came here following my first wife. Moved around a little bit. I lived in West Virginia for a while. That was a culture shock, brother. Going from London, England, to Wheeling, by God, West Virginia, in the late '80s, early '90s, in the middle of the Rust Belt. So I've done some stuff. I've seen some stuff.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
When was the first time that you thought of real estate as a potential for building wealth?
Yeah, great question. Look, man, it's interesting. I talk about, the blue collar attitude in a white collar world, but when I moved from the southern states there, West Virginia, in that area, up to New England, up to Boston, it's a part of my story, so I share it anyway. I've been sober 32 years, and when I first came to this country, it always seemed like a good idea to have another drink, right? And when I moved to New England, I got into a group of guys that didn't drink, and I learned how to live one day at a time without a drink, a drug, a mood or mind-altering substance in my body. But part of that group of guys was one guy, his name was Ray, and he was a firefighter. And he said to me, Dave, why don't you think about being a firefighter? I always loved camaraderie. I loved team, right? I loved to be a part of something that meant something. And I joined the fire department and served for 16 years as a firefighter and a paramedic in the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. Yeah. And you know this, John, because, your mom's up here in Mass. And Lynn has a little phrases a coin. It says, Lynn, the city of sin, you never come out the way you went in. Because Lynn was tough, right? Lynn, Lowell, and Lawrence, the three L's of Massachusetts. Yeah. But while I was on the fire department, on our days off, you can either sit around and do nothing, or you do what a large majority of firemen do is they work construction. And that was my first taste, really, of sticks and bricks. And I remember this guy's name was Sean. He had his own construction business, and he let me work on my days off. I'm useless, dude. I suck. I am 6'2". I was 250 pounds. I was working out back then. I could dig a mean-ass ditch, let me tell you. Me and four other guys on an auger, we're going down deep. We're getting to the frost line and putting in a foundation. You tell me to smash something, I can smash it, right? But if you tell me to use finesse and intelligence and, miter the corners perfectly, make sure I got a caulking gun in my hand, because I sucked at it. But this is important, the very first indication that there was real money in real estate was when I'd be on the job working, and these investors would show up to either look at a property or they were investing in the property. I'm just lumping, and I got to be frank with you, man. They were smiling. They had nicer cars. They had nicer clothes, and it was a moment of clarity for me where I went, "What the hell are they doing that I'm not?" Other than physically me being in a ditch and them not being in the ditch, right? What are they doing? So I began to ask questions, John. And to be frank, bro, they weren't that smart. They weren't. They didn't have, degrees on the wall and the Harvard background that we just talked about. They weren't dumb people, but they weren't exceptionally smart either. And for me, it was like one of those moments where I knew that there was going to be more of this in the future. How, what, where, or why, I had no idea. And
I'm sorry, how old were you at this time when this happened?
Yeah, you're going to make me feel old, brother. So I was about 30, mid-30s, 36, 37. It was around that period of time. It was when the market began to turn. There's a price you pay for ignorance in anything, in relationships, in finance, in business. You pay for education one way or another. You pay for it through mistakes. You pay for it through getting trained up and learning the business. And I've made a lot of financial mistakes because I was trained, and I say this with respect, not disrespect to my father. But, if the poor are leading the poor, then it creates more poverty, right? And if you take the concepts of rich dad, poor dad, it really opened up some synapses in my brain. But for me, I realized that there was a different way of going out and doing this stuff, and I had made some financial decisions in my own personal life that had massive consequences. I didn't understand why everybody kept saying to me, "Dave, you're a firefighter. You should refinance your house. Pull all the equity out. Real estate never goes down in value. You deserve to have 110% value of your home on an adjustable loan. It'll be okay. When it adjusts, you can just refinance again. It's going to be fine," right? Ignorance, right? Intelligence preying on ignorance. And I was losing my primary residence. I was losing my house. I'd refinanced it like 3 times in, 18, 24 months. I was in a pre-foreclosure scenario. John, I didn't tell you this the other night. I was carrying about $75,000 in unsecured credit card debt because I was buying cars, boats, and leather coats and keeping up with the Joneses, and I was a consumer, not an investor. And my house was in pre-foreclosure, and I was working about 120 hours every week at that time in my life between 3 jobs because I couldn't make ends meet. And again, you pay a price for that, spiritually, emotionally, relationship-wise. And I heard a commercial. On the radio. It was Teach Me Foreclosure, and it was a seminar company that was touring in the area. And that's where it started, brother. I went to a freaking seminar, spent 20 grand of my now wife's money that we didn't have on these classes that I only took, I think it was 3 out of the 5 classes. But I got some accountability in my life that day and, executed my real estate business from there. So kind of long-winded, but that was it, man. The seeds were sowed. And, when you plant a seed, if you water it, if you give it food, if you give it light, if you give it attention, it will grow. And I was always intentful from that point forward to be on this journey that I'm on today. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's a great. That's a good one, man. We did not. You're right. There's so many. There's so many things we did not cover since I've known you. But that is fantastic. Now we know who the real hero behind you, your wife, who putting up with your ass for the past few, however many years.
Yeah. John, you want to hear a beautiful one? I say today, and I always will. My wife is the rock that I get to stand on so I can look cool, right? She really is. Because Mary Beth, my wife, I met her in the labor and delivery room. She was a labor and delivery nurse, and I was a paramedic in training. And that's where we met, delivering some other woman's baby. Not the most sexy of environments in which to start a relationship, trust me. But she we went to that class, and at the end of the 3 days, it was an investment. I think it was $25,000 or $27,000. And I said to her, I said, what do you think? Should we do this thing? Should we go be real estate investors now, right? You're a nurse. I'm a firefighter. I can't ruin another relationship. I said, and what do you want to do? And she said something to me, John, and it was a moment, another one of those moments of clarity. She said, go get him, killer. She said, I'm proud of you and I love you. She said, I'll support you in whatever it is you want to do. And, that's the power of permission. I think so many people are, refused barriers to entries. Like, you can't do that. What are you, crazy? What, you're going to give that guy $250,000 of your money? Are you out of your trees? Right? Somebody's always got a negative opinion to share. But my wife, she was her, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I get to be front and center, and she gets to be the real power behind everything that I do personally today. And if she hears this, she knows how much I love her. That hasn't changed. I'm not. Some days I'm an asshole. I really am. Just like you said, man. I can be a real moody PRI, sometimes, but. She loves me no matter what, and she gave me permission to go and be wealthy and give her and my boys the life that we have today. So yeah, she was the one. I said, honey, it's $27,000. She goes, how much? I goes, $27,000 for the education. And that's when she said, go get him, killer. I said, I'm so glad you said that, because we're gonna have to put it on your credit card. Mine are all maxed out. But look, watch. She was my first private investor, bro. Right? She was my first private lender. She invested in my business. She invested in me. So, today, when you fast forward it, we manage millions and millions of dollars of other people's capital. That's our number one job, is to be a custodian of capital. I say to her all the time, I said, you get a return.
I bet. I was going to ask what the cash on cash on that was. Right? It was infinite.
You know what, right? You know what, though, in all seriousness, that return allowed her to be the mom that she wanted to be, right? And look, it's not man, woman, his, hers, right, wrong, and all of that shit. She wanted to be a mom that could be there for her children. And my oldest is now 12. Well, not my oldest, but my oldest, Jefferson, is 12 and Bennett's 10. And she's been blessed to be there for those kids, without having to go trade her time for somebody else's money. She's just been on payroll.
No,
so
she did.
All right.
And I love that. I love that you mentioned that, Dave, because I truly believe that the real success behind us is our wives. I mean, for them, because they're really betting on us to create essentially the life that we can really, where we have freedom, where we have options. I can't tell you how much that resonates with me, because it was a big jump even for myself, for me to be able to, because it's scary. I've had friends who have been in the law, they've been in the law enforcement for like 10 plus years, and for them to make some sort of jump like you did, you're a firefighter, for you to make a jump. I mean, most people lean towards the security, but we know that, hey, you know what, there's a little bit more out there than just us just staying here and paying bills, putting food on the table. But it's really going after having a freedom and options, and especially when you have kids. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am every single day for the fact that I get to be with my daughter, where I can spend more time with her, pick her up from school, do those daily activities, things that I can probably miss having a 9-to-5. And not to say that a 9-to-5 is bad. It pays the bills, it gets you forward, but always work on something, a passion, something that you know is going to get you further ahead. And again, it's going to trade that time where you're going to have more time with your family, for yourself, with your wife, than always just giving up your time just for a salary. I always say, and I've said it before in the previous season, is that you yourself are putting a price on how much you're worth through a salary. That's what you're saying. You're saying, I'm worth this, but really you're worth so much more. And if more people really understood that, they'd be in this much better position than they are today.
So I 100% agree with Francisco. Here's my follow-up question, because there's a point where we realize that we want to do something more for our future wealth and financial health and all that kind of stuff, which what you just went through right now explaining. But then there's another inflection point where we realize, God darn it, I love doing this shit. Like this is where I belong because I love it, not just because I'm doing it for the wealth, not because I'm doing it because of the time freedom, not because I'm doing it because I want to build future generational wealth. I'm doing it because I just love this thing. I love whatever it is that I'm doing. You know, when was that moment for you? Because that should be a different moment than the moment you realized that you wanted to get into real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Look, there's there's something about creation, right? I can't draw. I can sing a little bit, but you know, I'm not an artist. I can't create. The day that I took a crappy piece of real estate, 1800 2 single family home, city of Lynn. I took it from a rundown, cat pee and fecal treacle and all of the nastiness that was going on in the industry then and now, taking that, creating a home, beautiful floors, nice kitchens, countertops, lighting, little automation in the single family business. And then somebody would come to my house where we had worked, money, blood, sweat, and tears, physical labor. They would come to that property, they would walk that property, and then they would put hundreds of thousands of dollars down to live in what we had built or what we had created. For me, that was affirmation that I was in the right place. It wasn't necessarily, John, just the beauty of creating a home for somebody. It was how they felt about the home we had created for them. Like the letters of appreciation. Thank you for taking my offer. My children are going to grow up here. I'm so grateful. Blah, 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 blah. And you could have, let's think about it, man. It's the king in the castle stuff. It's being able to give somebody else that place where they're going to celebrate their holidays no matter what their faith is. They're going to bring a new baby home. They're going to, look after their grandparents in that house, whatever it is, and that you could be a part of that. So that was the physical part of it. But then as business morphed and grew, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get run over by opportunity and market cycles, etc. So as my business grew, my focus of potential clients grew. And that same impact that I felt for the people who bought my single family homes, today I get that same impact when the doctor, the lawyer, the business owner, the accredited investor says, really, I can come in on that deal? And then you work capital with velocity through the bigger projects that we all do, and you pay returns, and they go, oh my God. Oh, wait a minute, and you're accessible? You're not just a broker on the end of a phone. You're a human being, and I can connect with you, and I can talk about the deal, and I can share my hopes and my dreams. It's like therapy on steroids. Only I'm the financial. That's it. I'm the financial therapist. Because I'm not only. What's that? Remember the hair restoration guy said, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. It's like, that's me. Like, I've been in financial shit. Like, I know how money works today, and if I can share that through investments that guys like us put in the marketplace, I don't think there's a better thing than that, really, to secure and grow somebody else's. And this as much, both of you guys know this. That the more people I help, money follows me afterwards, right? It's that law of attraction, that law of reciprocity. And that may seem a little foo-foo for some people out there.
It's not foo-foo for the people who are cashing their checks in and smiling all the way to the bank after they get into one of our deals. So it's
right. And it's always, what's the secret? And you tell them the secret, and they still won't take the secret. It's like, no, there's more to it than that.
No, it can't be that simple, right? It can't be that easy. What do you mean? No, it really is. Get a great deal, fund the deal, work the deal, reposition the deal,
Yeah.
sell the deal,
Yeah.
get some cash flow along the way. How you doing?
And now you know why you don't need a degree to do this.
Exactly.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you. Right? They don't even teach this shit at Harvard, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, you could go there and get this in finance. You run into these highly educated individuals who are very happy to tell you how highly educated they are. But at the end of the day, I think there's as much value in being in the dirt, as because we've all
1,000%,
experienced
I agree
it.
with
We've
that.
worked, right? There's as much value in that as there is in, the higher end of finance and, cash on cash returns and cap rates and quantify and blah, 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 and, all of that world. So, I like both ends of the spectrum today to be able to, bring the hands-on approach into this business as much as the pro forma underwriting, consideration for a deal.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
then trying to stay disciplined,
Absolutely.
right, John?
Staying disciplined is the only way to really not only get ahead, but consistently stay ahead and stay ahead of the game. Without discipline, people in this business would probably be losing their shirt off. And a lot of people do lose their shirt off in this business because it is real estate, but
Sure.
If you make some bad decisions, you're only one or two bad decisions away from some disaster in some of especially in this environment right now that we're going through.
Right.
And you have to walk away, or you have to know when to pull the
sure,
trigger and when not to pull the trigger. I mean, I was telling you earlier, I don't mind sharing. Francisco and I had one of our weekly calls, and it was hard. We pulled out of 3 deals that we were excited about, and we had to put the kibosh on 3 deals that we made it in the best and final on, and that's not easy because we want a deal. It's not like we don't want a deal, but at the same time, we know that if we made the error of going with a deal that we don't feel comfortable with, our investors will be paying the price, and that's not acceptable.
You know what I find interesting, and maybe you guys resonate with it, maybe you don't. I think you do. My experience has been that the operators who have experienced financial challenges in their past, be it at their own decision making or just generationally, they weren't born into, some capital environment. It's really that case of every single penny needs to be treated as if it was my own. And, there are some operators out there, and I'm not going to tear people down to build us and guys like us up, but, I can't pull the trigger if I can't sleep at night afterwards. I can't put a deal in front of a potential investor to come in an LP position or a JV or a SPV, however we're going to structure a deal. I can't do it if I don't have 150% confidence in the deals that we're penciling up. And I would say, and again, my partner Walter Novicki, our acquisitions CIO down in our Florida market where we do business, but Walter will probably tell you he underwrites with his team anywhere between 10 and 20 deals a month and a half. But he'll look, give the first initial sniff test to maybe 100 during that period of time. So it's definitely a numbers game. And the stuff that's been floating around, this, guys, the stuff that's been floating around there, I could probably pull up 5 deals that you said you didn't want 5 months ago that are being presented to me as a brand new secret sauce opportunity, in the marketplace. So there's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of stuff that gets shopped around that just doesn't have the value component that guys like us not only want but need to be able to maintain our reputations. You said something that was really powerful, John, and that's you're only as good as your last decision. Yeah. You're only as good as your last deal. So we need to be right 99.9% of the time if we can. And that's a big target.
Well, I agree, and it's not necessarily to put a bigger pressure on us, but I think the pressure is now even more palpable with the market the way it is right now. just because mistakes are going to be a lot more costly.
Yeah.
You shift 50 basis point on interest rate that you did not count on.
Yeah.
That could kill you. That could kill your investment. That could kill your returns. That could kill your returns for your investors.
Yeah.
And that's not acceptable. And
we just went through it. We went through it on a deal. They were going to raise the interest rates. I think they actually hit us 100 bips on one raise to stress test, their tolerance. And what I said to my team was this: is like, we don't have to guess if interest rates are going to rise, right? We don't have to guess. We know that. We don't have to guess that we're in an inflationary landscape. We know that we are. What we now have to do is to double down, triple down, quadruple down on our due diligence process and stress test the crap out of every one of our underwriting pro formas. We'll move cap rates, 2-3 points in either direction just to see what it looks like. We'll move interest rates 50 bips, 100 bips, 75 bips. We'll extend construction times. They're stress tested at 3, 5, 7, 10. I mean, we'll go out that far so that we always know where our break-even point is, using our experience. There's deals in the marketplace that are not stress tested. Operators are not stress testing these deals because they're not in it. They don't have the longevity that you guys do at Peak 15. They don't have the longevity that my partner Walter has with 25 years in the Southwest Florida market. I think there's nothing more dangerous than that investor / realtor / syndicator / fund operator who says, Dave, I've been in this business 10 years now. I've seen everything. When they say that to me, I pull a Forrest Gump. Run. Start heading.
Anybody who tells you I've seen everything, that means they have not seen enough yet. So, because people who have seen everything, they will always tell you, I'm always here to learn. I'm always learning. Every day I'm learning.
Yeah, three or four cycles, man. You got to experience the full roller coaster ride, I think, to be as competent as you can be as often as you can. And you said something there too. Like, I learned a long time ago, I don't want to be the smartest person in a room. I don't want to be the smartest person on a call, right? I'm always learning, man, always. It's like, and that's another part of our business for me, which is exciting. Some things frustrate the crap out of me. Time, right? I was used to being in the quick turn real estate world where, I would see paydays every 30, 60, 90 days. Whereas in our world, as operators, we sometimes we're sometimes on the crumbs for a while before we get a slice of the cake.
You gotta have a stomach for you to be in this business.
This is not a daily paycheck kind of business, unfortunately.
It's longevity. It's a longer game.
If it was, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be doing it.
Sure.
What kind of stuff are you guys working on now to bring it back to the present that excites you? What kind of stuff that you're working on that is exciting for the future of Dave?
It's on a personal level, what's exciting for me is losing 20 pounds. That would be
I'm right there with you.
On a
I'm right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you. I need to add another 5 pounds to that 20.
Every time I look in the mirror. Right. Every time I look in the mirror, I go, "Who's that fat guy over there?" Oh, it's me. Dude, that guy needs a sack.
I am. That's my daily struggle, brother. That's my daily struggle. I'm always wondering who the hell that stranger is in the mirror.
That's probably the hardest discipline. I can stay disciplined in real estate, but when it comes to, hey, you got to go out and run, do that cardio, I'll think about it. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I've been 195 pounds and jacked, right? I've been 215 jacked. I don't like being 250 and fat. It's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And you got to remember, I got an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old son at home. They got no problem coming up and grabbing Dad's belly and going boogaloo, galoo, 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 galoo. I'm like, will you stop? Leave the belly. We love the belly, Dad. Anyway, you asked me what's exciting for me. On the business side, I got to be honest with you, John. For me, the chaos in the marketplace excites me, and here's why. Without getting corny, it's the old adage of Buffett. You know, when everybody's greedy, be fearful, and when everybody is fearful, be greedy. I get excited when I hear that investors are all sitting on the sidelines, you know, waiting for something to happen. And the reason I'm excited about that is I believe for guys like us come into the marketplace as a knee-jerk reaction off of this fear factor, right? I'm not surprised that you bailed on 3 deals that you liked, because there's somebody out there who doesn't have the same discipline, experience, and skill sets that you do to walk away. Somebody else bought that deal. Maybe they do well, maybe they don't. I don't look at the deals that I bailed on. I learned a long time ago to not look backwards, but to look forwards. So for us, our forward strategy today is to really solve the workforce housing problem that we have in Florida. We're doing that with build for rent. We're going on the development side because I control, as crazy as it sounds, I can control a lot more of the cost structure than I can in some other strategies. I work with GMPs, gross maximum price contracts, with my GCs. I've got the right guy on our team who's done billions of dollars with the building. Yeah. So we have multifamily ground-up construction going on right now, 106 units. I've got some smaller build-for-rent single-family communities. St. Petersburg, we are in Cape Coral, Fort Myers. I've got a nice little community that we're looking at in Tampa. So for me, I'm back in the dirt.
Great market.
Yeah, I'm back in the dirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My absorption rate for supply and demand is so out of whack. It's so skewed in our favor as GPs. City of Cape Coral, for example, did a put out for a report, and they are undersupplied something like 4 to 1. I can't remember the exact data, but you know, these cities know the COVID migration just overwhelmed them. They were overwhelmed before COVID, and then everybody wants to go, you know, be in a business-friendly state. So that's where we are, man. We're in the dirt. I was looking at some pictures from one of our projects, and it's funny. You remember you talked about what got me excited, and I used to say it was the final product. You know what gets me excited now? Great big frickin' bulldozers moving $40,000 worth of dirt around. And then on top of that, what doubles down on the excitement is the fact that I don't have to dig down and put a foundation in there. It's Florida.
I was just gonna say. Now you get to be that cool guy that walks around that you used to look at and say, you know, I like the clothes, I like the car, I like the look, right, whatever. Right. Now you're that guy.
And you know,
how do you like them apples?
Remember that? What was that? Goodwill Hunting. Remember Goodwill Hunting?
Goodwill Hunting.
He goes, how do you like them apples, eh? Yeah. So that's where we're at today. We're building for yield rather than chasing it in the marketplace.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, man. And I love what you're doing. I see some of the projects you're working on. We'd love to continue to partner up with you. We have a fund coming up that we're going to make some announcements on and continue to do that. It's a co-GP fund that's going to be pretty on point to working with great folks like yourself.
I'm excited for that. I think we share with it. I got a venture capitalist group that's looking to put an SPV together into a fund structure for us. And our language in our fund is very specific in the sense that it allows us to go fund to fund. It allows us to go into a number of different asset classes where we believe we have expertise. So it's a super flexible fund. So the timing could be perfect, John. You know, God is good, not just sometimes, but all the time. You know what I mean? And,
Amen.
You know, being in a position to do great business with great people like you guys over at 15, I mean, for me, it's it's a blessing, brother, for sure.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it, and we're look. I love you so much. I'm doubling down on you. We're launching a new venture together.
Yeah,
So,
should we talk about that? We should.
Yeah, why not? Why not? You can throw something out about it. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
John and I, for those of you listening, look at me taking over your show. So, listeners, John,
do it.
We met on LinkedIn. We actually took our relationship from LinkedIn. We did a couple of Zoom calls, some commonalities. We got to know each other virtually. We then got to sit down and break some bread. And some of the challenges that we have as operators is we're always networking, right? All of us. It's our business is to, find people that we can serve, and in return find people who can serve us. And one of the challenges that we had talked about was the fact that, we invest hundreds of thousands, probably in our careers, John, into mastermind groups and conferences. And, the return on investment from a mastermind group was always, for me personally, John, I don't know about every one of yours, but it was always mediocre for me. Like I wasn't always in a room that I could grow into and be challenged. And, we found commonality in that. In the sense of, well, instead of consistently looking for it, why don't we create it? Why don't we bring a mastermind group of a select few of individuals? And I don't mean this from an ego position, but people who are qualified to be at the Titans table, which is what we called the group, the Titans table. And then what could it look like for that individual to grow, maybe on a personal level, to grow their business, to grow their relationships, access to deal flow, access to capital, couple of adventures along the way. So we're in the early stages of putting that together, but it's something that excites me, John. It really does. I'm stoked to be on that journey with you and bring something of quality to the marketplace, again, to a select few people who understand, what it can be. Participation.
No,
right?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I share your excitement 100%. I'm just about as stoked and excited about it as you, and in fact, the more that we put into the planning of it, the more excited I get, because it's similar to that sort of fiduciary responsibility to investors that we talked about earlier. I feel the same way about offering something like that to those select few that you talked about for in our industry, because I feel like I through our knowledge collectively, I feel like we owe it to those people who are looking for something like that, for an outlet like in Mastermind that is for select a group of people that would give them more than what I've experienced, at least, and what you've experienced. Go something to go above and beyond and put forth not just a community to share knowledge, to share deals, which is really going to be the biggest strong suit of this mastermind, is really the community and the network that you get out of it. And I think that should be on the forefront of every mastermind, no matter whether it's ours or somebody else. And that would be the first thing I tell people when they come and ask me about mastermind. I'll say, just look at what kind of community you're going to get out of it. If you're happy with the community, then that's great. Then that's probably what you're going to get. It goes even more fundamental than that, Dave. I tell my son, when now that he's almost starting to think about college, I tell him, if you want to think about college, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Think about what college you want to go to that you think you want to get a good community out of afterwards. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's sharing some experiences with a group of cohorts, and deals and business and ideas. These ideation of deals and experiences will put forth some fruits in front of you that you may not have ever seen before, and get to meet people you've never seen before, and do it in a really cool setting, the way that you and I are talking about it.
What's interesting, and your buddies in the police department and those guys that in law enforcement may well resonate with this. When I transitioned from there into business, into entrepreneurship, I learned about self-directed IRAs and solo Ks and all the things that we share with our investors today. But I always used to have this image, John, and it was like I would see these large teak or oak wooden doors, right, like 10-foot doors, and there would be a big handle on these doors. And then as you opened those doors, they would go into like a club area, right? And there would be those large leather chairs. And there would be various individuals maybe smoking nice cigars and, swirling swirling a glass of some kind of cognac. And these were
You talk about Francisco's living room.
these were the men and women who were making up all the rules, right? These were the world domination. And, I think about that imagery. You see how my brain works. I'm screwed up. I think about that imagery today. And you know what it is for me today? I'm in that room. And now I'm in that room. I'm able to take all the secrets that are in that room and bring them back to the people who can benefit from them the most, right? So that's kind of what I believe the Titans table can be as well. It's access, right? Think about why does somebody spend, right? Why would somebody spend $25, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 to join, a country club? If they suck at golf, why would they do it? They do it for access. They do it for the access to the community, the people, and the functions that take place there. So
that's right.
That's right. You know what's cool too is we made a commitment to build it right and not fast. So
absolutely.
That was very important to me as well. So
seeing it as a holistic view. I mean, it's larger picture. And by the way, this is, for all the listeners, this is the first time that I'm hearing about this, so I'm already, even myself, I'm getting excited about it. I don't know if I have a seat at the Titan table, but
we may find a little chair for you. We'll find something.
Well, I think Dave will find it. We'll pull up a stool for you.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Sit between me and John, Francisco. That's all you got to do. You get this craziness by osmosis.
I'm not sitting on no one's lap, then I'm fine.
Well, you can always sit on my lap, Francisco.
That's a different meeting altogether. We won't talk about that meeting. You'll find it.
Oh my goodness! No,
stuff.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm very excited. Stay tuned, everybody, and we'll have a lot more announcement about that in the future.
Yeah, we'll have some updates.
Dave, how can how can people find you if they want to get a hold of you? Where do they go?
Yeah. I'm old school, brother. I actually got a telephone and somebody answers it. You can reach me at the office here at 781-922-4418. 922-4418, 781 area code. Freedom Venture Investments is the name of our investment company. You can Google me, Dave at freedomventure.com is an email that will work.
And they can see your seasons with the Boston Flipper as well too, right? Because I know we really touched on that. I'm pretty sure they're interested in seeing that.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that silliness. That's another call. But you could Google old episodes of Flipping Boston. Just remember, it's a TV show. I'm not really that much of an asshole. I'm a good guy, honest. I was just playing a dick on TV. But yeah, you can find me if you want to find me, brother.
I Googled some of those episodes back then. Back then, there were no fitted jeans, so I that's what I got out of that show. Man, those jeans were baggy back then.
That's because I was always sweaty. I needed the air movement, man. Today I can wear designer jeans because I don't sweat so much. You ain't right, Azar. You ain't right.
Oh my God,
you're broken.
You can always count on me to come up with some odd comments, man. You can always count on me for that.
Because you're not safe in this show.
No. But listen, man, we really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet, brother. Much love. Appreciate you.
And thank you. And hopefully, obviously, I'm sure we'll have you on again. And you and I will have a lot of other conversations and that people can be privy to as well.
Nice to meet you as well, Francisco. Take care.
No, absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Dave, for making time, and hope all the listeners really took some good meat out of this. So I think they're going to be happy about it. So thank you for having for being on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.